There's a new flagship card on the block, Hyatt might be making changes to their program, Marriott upgraded their certificates, and United's new aircraft is now bookable. This and more in today's roundup. Big favor before we dive into everything is to give this a thumbs up to help with the algorithm. If you know someone that might benefit, then share this with them. First up, let's look at the carbon card. Technically, it does have a different name that I'm not allowed to say, but it is what it is. It is a form of the carbon element though, so directionally correct. The card has a $295 annual fee and has two key multipliers. You get 5% cash back on flights and prepaid hotels booked through their travel portal, and then 2% cash back on everything else. If you don't like the coupon book, then you're in luck since there's no coupons, at least not by default. You can earn up to 2,400 in statement credits that you can use for the following calendar year for monthly fees for their accounts payable platform, but that's only if you spend $250K in a calendar year. I have a pretty hard time arguing for this card. It's just a 2% uncapped business card. It definitely can make sense if you buy a ton of inventory or you have a lot of miscellaneous expenses. Even then though, I feel like there are better cards out there. For example, the Capital One Spark Cash Plus is $150 annual fee, and you can actually get this refunded if you spend $150K in a year. It's the same 2% uncapped for business, which is great. Another benefit is that you can transfer the cash back into miles if you have the right cards, meaning that you have more upside for these redemptions if you care about points and miles. Maybe it's me, but I don't see the draw of the carbon-based card. One big one is that Hyatt might be making potential changes to their program. Loyalty Lobby first flagged this, and there's a lot going on. And to be fair, this is based off a survey they sent out, so everything that's being suggested might not happen. The big one though is a potential new level above Globalist. Right now there's 5 public levels: Member, Discoverist, Explorist, Globalist, and Lifetime Globalist. Globalist being the sweet spot for a lot of us given the benefits, but at 60 nights a year. Technically there is a level above this for Hyatt, and it's called Courtesy Card. It is invite only and pretty hard to get. My understanding is that it's geared towards people that are driving a lot of revenue, think 100K to $1 million, so more event planners and corporate travelers. If they do add a new level, expect it to be tied to spend. So for example, 80 nights and let's say 20K in spend with their hotels a year. The new level would probably put you ahead of Lifetime Globalists, but behind Courtesy Card. The one potential good part about this is that they might lower the requirements for Globalists. As long as they keep free breakfast and don't make changes on that end, I'm a happy camper. Main reason being that a lot of my stays are at Andaz's, Park Hyatts, and Grand Hyatts, which have solid spreads. One thing that might happen that people aren't happy with is free parking going away for Globalist. I feel like I mostly fly in and then Uber, so not really a big deal for me. They might also be joining Marriott and start charging resort fees and destination fees for award bookings, which would be a major hit for me. So not a good thing at all, and one of the things I dislike about Marriott. A lot of the tropical destinations have pretty aggressive resort fees. Another potential positive that might happen is using additional points for certificates. For example, let's say you had a category 1 to 4 certificate, you could use 5,000 more points to book a category 5, 10,000 to book a category 6, and so on. That actually would be a great outcome and would make certificates a lot more valuable. But yeah, kind of curious where everyone's head's at because there is a lot in flux. I also wouldn't be surprised if certain people read the comments down here, so let them know what you think. Speaking of top-offs, Bonvoy just updated their program. So before, if you had a certificate, you could top off with 15K points. Currently, the top off is up to 25K points. So if you have a 35K certificate, you can top off with 25K, so up to 60K would be what you could redeem it for. You still have to have the points, but it gives you more options. If you have a 50K free night certificate plus 25K, would mean that you can redeem at up to 75K points, and 85K plus 25 would be 110K. It is a step in the right direction, but I feel like they could have done more. So number 1, make it uncapped. That feels pretty reasonable, especially because a lot of the nicer hotels still might cost you 120K to 160K, especially during peak season and even shoulder season. Number 2 would be adjusting certificates for the points inflation. A lot of the hotels have crept up in points price, even the cheaper ones, so it would make sense for the certificates to do the same. So for example, turn 35K to 50K, 50K to 75, and 85K to 100K. If we use Japan as an example, even if you have 85K certificates, let's say you top off with 25K, then it still might not work at places like the Edition or Ritz-Carlton. Those might run you 130K. And to be fair, there are days where it will work, let's say May 6th, where it's 109K. It's a step in the right direction, but it feels like a weird artificial constraint. On their end, points are liabilities since it relates to future services that they have to render. And I'm sure there is other math in the background, but you think that they want people to redeem their points to lower their liabilities and just make it easier. The one positive is that some of the more economic picks, let's say the Courtyard or Aloft in Ginza, are now possible again with 35K certificates, which they weren't for a bit because they were over 50K. Speaking of inflation though, I do remember when these were 35K to 40K, so it has jumped up. A good reminder to travel while you can since prices keep going up. On a side note, if you want to learn about cards to get points and you want to support the channel, we have links on the website, AskSebby.com, and also down below in the description box. Make sure the links are competitive, that they make sense for you, but otherwise it's a huge way to support the channel, so thank you in advance. Next up, let's look at Citi and devaluations with two of their hotel partners. The two are I Prefer and Choice privileges. For Choice, before it was 1 to 2, so 1,000 thank you points would be 2,000 Choice. Starting April 19, 2026, it's going to 1 to 1.5. 1,000 thank you would be 1,500 Choice. I Prefer got hit even harder. Before it was 1 to 4, so 1,000 to 4,000, and starting April 19th, it's 1 to 2, so 1,000 to 2,000. There is a lot of speculation that this is due to them probably overpaying to have American Airlines as a transfer partner, which wouldn't surprise me. At the same time, these downgrades do put them in line with other major banks. For example, if Capital One Choice is 1 to 1, and I Prefer is 1 to 2. So funny enough, even with this devaluation, Citi is still a bit better for Choice. Per their email, you still have time to redeem if you have Citi thank you points that are ready to go. You're good to transfer through April 18th, 2026, so you have about 3 weeks. Let's do some fast math and then look at some examples. Let's say you value Citi thank you points at 2 cents per point. In that case, for the old rate with I Prefer, you would need to get at least 0.5 cents per point, and at the new rate, 1 cent per point. For Choice, before you were looking at 1 cent per point, and now it's 1.3 cents per point. Okay, but what if you value Citi points lower? Let's say at 1.5 cents per point. In that case, for I Prefer, you're looking at 0.38 cents per point for the old target, and then the new target is 0.75. For Choice, the old target was 0.75 cents per point, and new one is 1 cent per point. So I know this is very confusing and there's a lot of numbers going around. The idea though is to make sure that we get enough value for that transfer to make sense and for the math to work. Taking a look at Choice and their brands, this is what it looks like. On the top end, you have Radisson's and Ascend. Let's take a look at one of their flagship hotels, the Ascend Collection in Stockholm. Based off the current retail price, it's about $235 USD per night. If we use points, it's going to be 30,000 points. Let's do some math. $235 divided by 30,000 points is 0.00783. Rounding up, we have 0.8 cents per point. Going back to our chart, it makes sense if you value Citi thank you points at 1.5 cents per point, but only at that old transfer rate. With the new rate, it still doesn't make sense. At 2 cents per point, it doesn't make sense with either the old or new transfer rates. And to be fair, I'm sure there are sweet spots, but definitely more economic focused and depends on what you're looking for. One that I was a bit more interested in was I Prefer, since it's a group of independent hotels and it does lean more luxury and fancy. I'm usually less worried about paying $100 or $200 for a basic night and more focused on getting value for those $1,000 or $2,000 nights. Let's do a city example. So the Stafford, London. This is a historic 5-star hotel in the heart of London, which is about $653 USD a night. Taking a look at the price calendar, you're looking at about $675 and then upwards of almost $800. Points prices here are 150K, but let's look at availability. It's not great for super last minute, so T7, but beyond that, it's wide open. So the whole month of April is 150K. Let's run the numbers. $700 divided by 150K points is 0.0046. 0.5 cents per point, give or take. At 2 cents per point, it makes sense with the old target rate, but with the new one, it becomes pretty tough if not impossible. At 1.5 cents per point, it makes sense with the old rate, but still doesn't really make sense for the new rate. Out of curiosity, let's do a skiing example. Main reason being that those can go pretty crazy. Let's say we want to do Das Eldo West Salzburg Mountain Resort. This is a 5-star luxury ski in ski out Austria hotel. Taking a look at the pictures, it's pretty snazzy, and if you have a player or two that doesn't like skiing, then they're going to be a happy camper. Looking at the points price for next season, so next January and February, it's wide open for January, and I'd probably do either end of January or end of February. 150K points isn't bad at all. Looking at the retail price, it's actually not as aggressive as I thought it would be. It's not cheap by any means, but it's not too crazy. Let's say we use the 677 number just to be a bit more aggressive. 677 divided by 150K is 0.45 cents per point. It's ironically in the same zone as the London one. Again, I'm sure there are sweet spots and people have told me about pretty nice skiing ones, but you have to look and you have to find examples where it works. If you have Citi points, it might make sense to do that research, and maybe I'll send an email about it or do another video. Last up, let's talk about United Polaris 2.0. This is a long-awaited upgrade to Polaris, and it looks pretty nice. The cabin's definitely less boring than the old one. Short-term availability, though, is pretty tough. A big part of it, for now at least, is routing. For long haul, it's only for the SFO to London route and also SFO to Singapore. Also a reminder to make sure that it's the right aircraft, so you're looking for the 787, not the 777. The base price here is 115k miles, but if you have one of their cards, it actually drops down to 80k miles. So 80k for business class isn't bad at all for a 10.5-hour flight. If you have other tools, it might actually drop down another 10k to 70k, which is even better. Note that there are differences for the seats. So the front ones are going to be the studio ones, and then everything else is the normal ones. You can see this with the little stars in front of them. The big difference is that it is a bigger seat, so significantly roomier, and you also get better food, so caviar service and also nicer wines. On the seat side, it's pretty similar to JetBlue Mint, which does the same thing, where you pay a bit more for that seat, and also same for Air France Business, where they have larger seats up front. For the Air France one, for whatever reason, I was able to book directly into, but that was also last minute. So for those ones, it's the bigger seat, but the food and everything else is the same. United also elevates the soft products. If you do want to try it for United, at the moment at least, it's going to be $499 on top of the miles that you're spending. There's going to be 8 of these for each of the aircrafts, so 4 in the front cabin, and then 4 in the back business cabin. Looking at the full year, there is a good amount of availability, and of course, this can refresh, so it might make sense to get a seats aero account. I'm not seeing anything with Singapore yet, so hopefully that changes. Also, hopefully when it does open up, it's not going to be in the summer. We might do London in the summer, but we'll see what happens. 80k United is pretty much one intro bonus, so not bad at all for a cool business class flight. Again, if you want to learn about cards to get points and miles, and you want to support the channel, we have links on the website, AskSebby.com, and also down below in the description box. If you made it to this point, leave a guard emoji in the comments down below, and I'll try to heart it and also respond. 3 questions. Number 1, what are your thoughts on the potential Hyatt changes? Number 2, Bonvoy top-offs. Your thoughts there. Do you think it's good? How would you change it yourself? And number 3, are there any good I prefer or choice sweet spots that you're trying to book before the change? Let me know and everyone else know in the comments down below. Big favor, thumbs up, share this, but otherwise hope you liked it. See you next time.